Welcome back to the Art of Success podcast. In this episode, I'm speaking to my former client, Jack, and we're just going to explore how he applied mindset training to overcome any motivation challenges that he had at the beginning, find more time in his life to do the things that he actually loved, and increase his output at work. So here is the wonderful Jack. So welcome. On one hand, I'm utterly sad to be kind of wrapping things up with you, but on the other hand, you were the fifth, or you're one of 5 Jacks that I was working with at one time, and one Jackson, and it was an incredibly confusing situation. So I appreciate that.
One fewer Jacks is
yeah, one through a Jack. Thank you for making the time to do this, dude. Can we start by giving a quick intro to who you are? I know it's kind of a weird thing to bio yourself, but yeah, if we could start that'd be awesome.
Sure. So I'm Jack. I'm 24. I am a software engineer primarily, work in the tech industry. Don't know, live in London. What else? What's kind of useful information?
That's good.
There?
That's good, man. Cool. Like what'd you do? What'd you get up to? That's the kind of bio that we're looking for. So let's go back. What was it, like around 4 months now to our first call that we had together? What was happening in your life that made you reach out to me?
So around New Year, I decided I wanted to get on a little bit of a self-betterment program for myself. So part of that was getting healthier and starting exercise, and then the other part was I was speaking to a friend of mine who also worked with you. He was telling me about the mindset work that he was doing with you. I thought that sounded like an interesting addition to this physical betterment. There's a sort of mental betterment. I think at that time I was struggling with consistency in my motivation, this general feeling of direction in my life. So yeah, that was kind of an exploration of that.
Nice. So it's a curiosity, and what is okay, I want to improve myself. What were you hoping to get from it? What was the deliverables that you were looking for?
I don't think I came with many expectations of what the deliverables were. I think it was definitely curiosity driven. I think I did want to come out of it with a bit more of a sense of purpose, and through that a increased confidence in the things that I do. But yeah, I was kind of very open to whatever happened, and just kind of finding out about the process.
Sweet. So kind of let's see what happens. Let's see how much I can get. What were you hoping would happen?
I think this is a tricky one. I think it's clearer idea of where I want to be in my life in a sort of timeline, I guess. I think I've always had this sort of here's my 5-year plan for where I'm going, what I want to do. There've always been nice milestones there, graduating or complete this first job or whatever. I felt I'm in this little bit now where there's not really so many milestones, and I have to create them for myself. So I think I felt my plans were quite erratic and moved around quite a lot. So I wanted this not necessarily a single line, but kind of aiming this radar, which is looking into the future in the right direction, and then feeling okay, that's enough direction that I can commit to where I'm going, as opposed to having this constant cold feet feeling of oh, is this the right thing? Should I change career? Should I move to a different country? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, which is a difficult thing to do when you are someone who is a creative and who has the kind of the high openness to new experience. So you want to experience new things, and you have experienced a lot of things in the past. So to kind of narrow down your options and somewhat put blinkers on whilst making sure that's intentional and meaningful for you, it can be a challenging thing to do.
Yeah, I think there is that sort of there's this push and pull in that. Lots of the great things in my life have happened because I have this like this desire to like switch between things very quickly, and that's been great. But it does also kind of like work against you in some cases when you're not thinking about like long-term visions. So it's I think about finding a balance. I think through the work we've done, I've found like a really nice balance. And there's still obviously like you move closer and towards closer and further away from that balance. But yeah, definitely like in terms of the pendulum swinging, it's swinging at a less extreme degree.
Got you. Had you tried anything in terms of anything mindset related? I can't. You'd obviously read a ton. Your reading was super varied, but like, had you done any like, oh, this is the work that I want to go down? I'll explore like meditation or journaling or anything like that before.
To be honest, no, not really. I've done like a little bit of meditation stuff with like Headspace, I guess, but I don't think it was ever very intentional. So this was kind of my first step into it, and I think intentionally, I chose to like work with you and to work with a person in the same way that like for the exercise stuff I do it in like a small group PT thing, because I know to get me started in something that's like going to require like this kind of work, I think I do need that little bit of external motivation. So yeah, that was the first thing I've sort of like done for the mindset work.
Nice. Yeah, you get that accountability. It's way hard to do something, and also you shorten the feedback loop as well when you've got just the quicker you can iterate and realize the mistakes you're making. Obviously, the more progress you're making. And so, like, I love that about you. The fact that you just went, okay, I'm just going to dive straight in. Because most people go, okay, I'm going to read a few books and try a few things out. And then you kind of like spin your wheels for a bit, and then you're like, you try an idea for a month or so, and then it changes, and then like you find something else, you listen to a podcast, and that changes, and then you eventually go, oh, nothing's actually changing. I need to like hire someone like myself. But like, it's good that you jump straight in. Hello there. If you are a high performer, an entrepreneur, a founder, or someone in a business that has a high degree of impact and autonomy, and you want to take your life to the next level, I want to help you do that. Every month, I take on 3 new mindset coaching clients for whom I create bespoke coaching programs and take them to their greatest success in their career, in their fitness, and of course, wider life too. It's application and invitation only, and I select only those who are ready to commit 100%. To apply for your space, head to my Instagram and shoot me the word interested. So what was, like, looking back at it now, what do you think was the thing that was getting in your way the most, or what was causing the kind of the problems in mindset, or the inefficiencies in mindset that you were experiencing at the time?
I don't think I realized it at the time, but I think it was basically like a bad judgment system of like what to spend my time on. And there was this thing in my mind of like, oh, I should be doing this certain kind of thing, and I shouldn't be spending my time doing this other kind of thing. So I'm not really sure like where that came from, but there's sort of just like rules I had made up in my head. And yeah, it's just kind of like means that you don't end up doing what you want to do. You end up wasting some time and kind of like a lower level of fulfillment, and therefore like motivation that bleeds out from that. But I think it was that like judgment system that was sort of not really calibrated very well.
Okay, so you're a bit of kind of like, was it procrastination, or was it just like inefficient use of time? Was it like too diverse?
I think it was mainly procrastination there, but there's also this weird thing that I had where I was like, we spoke a lot whilst we were working about like non-forcing tasks, and there's some stuff in like your non-forcing tasks of things that you actually like enjoy doing, and you find yourself doing, like, oh my god, like how have I ended up doing this again? And some of that stuff for me is like, coding these small projects. But in my mind, I told myself like, oh no, that's not something I should be doing with my spare time, even though it is something I do enjoy. Yeah. So this weird thing of like, it's not procrastination, but it's almost like you're imposing your own like values, which aren't your values, on the things you choose to spend your time doing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Absolutely does. Was there anything that was really different to how we worked together than what you expected?
I think what I really liked about it was there's a lot of like, it is very inward looking because you're thinking about like, okay, my own mindset, but there's also this like outward element. It's like, who do you find like inspiring and why do you find them inspiring? It's about like the things that you do and trying to like kind of categorize those in some way. So it's not just like, I think in my head when I think of like mindset work, it's like, oh, like how are you feeling and like changing your own perspective on things. And it's got this very like narrow view of your mind is this kind of like, you take in information and you process it and that's it. But I think there's this nice like holistic element that you had in yourself working, which felt like it really like broadened the possibilities of uh, how to think about things ultimately, and also without being like kind of quite dull, which would be, how are you feeling today, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, I want you to go out and achieve things with this. It's fine, like being introspective, but it can turn into this like exercise of navel gazing, which I actually did for years. Just like, oh, I really know myself, but I know myself in the confines of this living room and not out in the world.
Yeah.
And like, it's my hope that you use it to go out and like to explore. And I think that's what you did so well. Like you explored in terms of career, but also in terms of your enjoyment and what brought meaning to you. Was there a moment in the process where you're like, oh, that's an epiphany? Like I've had that kind of like that change in the way I'm acting, the change in the way I'm thinking and feeling. Like, was there a moment where you're like, oh, okay, I get this?
I think there was a moment where I realized there's kind of like rules in my head about things. That was one. Where I was like, oh, there actually aren't these like external rules. These are just things people like, like me make up. But then there's all these other things as well in the world where there's like, where people think there's like a particular way of doing things and it has to be done in that way. But trying to think of like an example, I guess.
Doesn't have to be a clear one. Sorry, because like
Yeah.
sometimes it's like this. Sometimes you have like these revelations, like, oh man, like something's really changed. And other times it's like this gradual process of like, and it's a bit different. And like thing with mindset work as well is you're so immersed in it the whole time. It's quite difficult to see the wood for the trees. I never know what that fucking phrase is. I know, is that it? You can't see the wood for the trees, or the trees for the wood. Like, I can't remember it. It's
think
something
it's wood
like
for the
that.
trees.
Yeah.
Not sure though.
Yeah, you can't see what's immediately around you because you're so immersed in it. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's like that's often the case with mindset. Like because we're living it the whole time. It's our experience of the world. So to notice to change it is quite difficult to do. Was there?
Yeah, I think
Go on, sorry.
actually thinking, sorry, I think actually one of the things I did notice is there were a couple of elements that were missing in my life. And it actually feels like so long ago now that I forgot that there are new elements. So when we first started, I didn't really have any sort of like creative outlet. Like my only creative outlet would be my work, and there is an element of creativity there, but it fluctuates. Sometimes it's just like you're churning out pretty monotonous stuff. And so yeah, since starting, it was like, okay, I can actually like go and take a drawing class, and it's one of these nice things where you're speaking about it, and like, I wish there was some sort of activity that I could do that would be a creative outlet, and then like the next day you find something, or realizing when I want to like continue learning things in a sort of like semi-intellectual way, like not just from reading articles, but like let's get slightly deeper into a topic and realizing, okay, I do have this interest in like neuroscience and medicine and being able to explore that more deeply as a result. So there's all that kind of stuff which sort of like filled these what I felt like were gaps in my life. And yeah, just like surfaced that they were gaps. That was kind of what was frustrating me.
Nice. And what was your justification you used before you started to not pursue things like that?
So two justifications there. One was I didn't have the energy to do it, and another one was that I didn't have the time to do it. So yeah, they're both, I mean, both lies. The time one especially, sort of like we were speaking about it, and I think, telling you that I realized like if I start my day at a certain time, then at like 5 p.m. I've still got 50% of my waking hours left in the day. I was like, that is so much time. So that one was like out the door eventually once I sort of like realized that. And the energy is something we worked on quite early on, and just sort of like few suggestions of kind of getting out of bed at a consistent time, getting sunlight like directly into my eyes. Also, no caffeine within the first like 90 minutes of being awake. Just like radically changed my energy levels,
Nice.
which is fantastic.
Yeah, that was one of the kind of the bigger shifts that I saw in you. Just like it's funny as well because it's just 3 or 4 simple kind of changes that are barely impacts on your day of just like, okay, well, we're going to reframe how you view your time, but also we're going to like just be a bit more disciplined with light and sleep and caffeine, and then you just like get all this energy to pursue the things that you truly want to pursue. So then,
Yeah.
over the past, well, actually, how's your life different now, and how's your mindset different now compared to how it was before we started?
So I think I do have this clearer. I think I do have this clearer like idea of where I want to go with my like work, which is particularly useful, like the kind of work I want to do, and then being able to kind of work backwards from that to the work I'm doing today, and finding the sort of the extra energy there and the kind of like passion, I guess. I have a lot more passion in what I spend my time doing at work, which is great. Uh, I think, yeah, the energy is fantastic. That's something I didn't have before. And also this, I think the biggest thing for me is like having this like set of values that I can return back to. And that's really just helped me feel more confident in like the decisions that I make. And yeah, including the decisions about like what extra things I want to add to my schedule, whether that's like the creative stuff or reading and things like that, and feeling like, okay, this isn't now a waste of time. And it's actually just, it makes sense for me to do this because it's actually something I enjoy, and I have this like better awareness of the things that I enjoy and the things that I value.
Nice, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad the value work gave you that. Yeah, has anything changed in your life since we began working in terms of like actual real world change, or has it all been this kind of internal shift?
So actual real world change. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely. I think I now. I mean, what do you mean by actual real world
Have you
change?
seen any changes in terms of your results in your career, in terms of like your enjoyment, like something that was maybe even like something more objective?
So, with the obvious one of like results or like changes in my career, I think definitely. I mean, still working at the same company, still the same job title currently, but especially in the last few weeks, we've sort of I felt comfortable putting myself in a position where I can like kind of give more input on the direction, and I'm seeing the benefits of that now with like basically moving into a new kind of role that's like very recent development, which is really exciting, much closer to the work that I want to be doing. In terms of other aspects, I think there is this like I've been able to find out like new interests of mine, and that's been really exciting. Just like kind of giving me a reason to like go out and learn more and supplement, I guess, any learning that I get from other aspects of life, whether that's like, you know, with friends or at work or wherever. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really surprising as well that energy change being such a good supplement, I know, not supplement, the energy change being such a good enhancer for just your general enjoyment of life, you know, like getting out of bed, feeling good, feeling like, okay, I've got some things to tackle and I've got some things I want to do and things I need to make time to do. But yeah, I think it as well, exploring, let me start that again. I think as well there's this like aspect of through finding out what I'm interested in and the different like projects and things, being able to like continue on those projects and push them out more, just kind of creates this like virtuous cycle.
Nice.
Where, yeah, I've just enjoyed that and I'm still like, reaping the benefits, I guess.
Nice. Love it, dude. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you think is important?
I think that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you, man.
What about
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Thank you so much. Like, really, really do appreciate it.
Oh.
Yeah, massively appreciate your time, dude.